It's so beautiful to have all of us right here today. It's a great day, and of course, this is Wednesday. Welcome to the midweek edition of Journalist Roundtable. So beautiful. Today is going to be a day that will talk about so many things making headlines on the national daily. What's making round? So much to talk about today, but then we might not be able to talk about everything in the space right now, in the media space, but we'll try our best within the confine of our time to bring you major analysis from the headlines for today. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo, and I have two great men joining me on the conversation right here today. They are both journalists, of course, it's Journalist Roundtable. But then let me begin from my left-hand side. The both of them are on my left anyway. Let me first of all introduce Bernard Essen. He's a journalist and he is also a producer of programs. Thank you very much for joining us, Bernard.
Thank you so much for having me, Ramsey.
And also I have Adefolarin Olamileko right here. It's good to have you join us on the program.
Thanks for having me, Ramsey.
Yes, let's get started. The president have said, well, if you want to judge me, well, this is Nigeria. And a lot of people have said so many things about the government. And the way it works, this way, whatever happens, everybody talk about the president, of course. President, well, this is what we're doing. This is what APC is doing. What is President Tinubu is doing and all of that. Now he has come out today in one of the papers to say, well, this is it. Judge me by factories, jobs, not policy counts. This is coming from Tinubu. You are a policy analyst, you are a political analyst, economic analyst, and development expert. Adefolarin, let's get started. What does that statement mean to you? Doing a holistic assessment of this administration as far as economy is concerned.
Very interesting statement coming from the president, particularly as someone that is in the saddle of the affairs of this country. You know, we normally say in local parlance that the person who wear a shoe that is pinch, that's when that is the person that knows where the shoe pinch him or where that shoe is paining him when he wore it. So for the president, you know where what he's doing pertaining his policies. But for those of us who expect that policy to feel us, to touch us in terms of economic dividend, in terms of economic development, in terms of economic growth, we have one or two things to say about the government policy. But give it to the president. For him, it's about jobs creation, it's about factories, it's about industrialization, it's about creating jobs through technology or whatever means he thinks he can create a job. But for Nigerians, what is the impact of all that he has created? What is the impact of all that he has put in place? And that's where Nigerians are asking questions. So for the president, he should also understand in a way that many Nigerians are with him on his policy ground, but the end result of his policy is where many are questioning. How many people have been impacted by his policy? The jobs he has created, has he been able to create 10 million jobs for Nigerians? Has he been able to create 5 million jobs for Nigeria? Has he been able to create 1 million jobs for Nigerians? So that's where the question is. So if they're asking the president that, okay, we are looking at your policy count, and we are looking at the impact of your policy count, and you are telling us that we should look at the job creation or the factory creation, we are looking at it in a way that what has been the end result of both sides. The policy count, the factory. How many jobs have been found in the factory, and how many impact is this policy that we are also talking about?
All right, but then as an economist that you are, and I know one of the programs that you handle has to do with the economy of nations of the world, including Nigeria. What do you think of the economy of Nigeria as at now? Because this statement is well, it's not all about the policy count, it's not all about, but then look at factories. Do we really have the factories? Look at jobs. Do we have all Nigerians, or let's say 70% to 80% of Nigerians employed right now? What do you think about the economy of Nigeria as a nation? Are we up, or we are down, or we are the middle? Are we progressing or retrogressing as it is?
I think what we need to understand, particularly from economic perspective, is this: there are technicality on how countries' economies are rated. Presently, Nigerian economy is rated based on the technicality of economic jargons, as we can put it. Those jargons are in economic textbooks are called terminology. Talking about growth, talking about development. What we are experiencing in Nigeria is growth, and growth deals with number. For instance, the economy of Nigeria has been projected to grow above 4.1%. And we're already getting there. And when we talk about that growth, we're talking about the GDP of Nigeria. They're talking about the parity of our people with the purchasing power of Nigerians and the quality of life connected to this growth that we are talking about. So for the government and for the entire Nigerian space, the economy is growing, but it is in regards to jobless growth. It is in regards to redevelopment growth, development perspective. And it is in regards to what many Nigerians will feel that we should have 3 square meal a day. We should be able to have accessible electricity. We should be able to have affordable health care services. And we should be able to have durable roads and infrastructure that will last beyond just a term of government or a period of a government. But what we are having is a growth that doesn't correlate or that doesn't show that the people are feeling the impact. We are not saying that Naira is not appreciating. Naira is now 1,356 Naira to the dollar. But how much of that has impact on the food that people are eating, on the food that we are producing as a country? We have security challenges. There is limited farmers going to the farm. We also have issues. Although inflation have dropped, food inflation is now 8.89% as of January. Meanwhile, the headline inflation in Nigeria is now 15.10. It dropped from 15.15 that we had in December. So all this growth terminology does not correlate with the actual development that Nigeria need. And when we talk about economics, as a political economist and a broadcast journalist, when I look at development in Nigeria, we look at it from the point of development that touch the life of people. And that's why a scholar asks, when you talk about economic development, you need to ask 3 basic questions. What has happened to employment? What has happened to infrastructure? What has happened to growth when it comes to factories and the rest of them? But in the Nigerian case, we are having them in a nominal, not too influential way as expected. When I say not influential, that means the numbers are growing, but not in double digit or triple digit that we want it to be.
All right, let me get to Bernard. Bernard interfaces with the people all the time, most times. Now, what is your assessment of the unemployment rate in Nigeria right now? Because if there are factories, then unemployment should reduce. What do you think about unemployment in Nigeria right now under the APC administration?
Well, Ramsey, when you really look at what is happening in the country in terms of unemployment, I think based on your question, what just came to my mind several years ago, the famous 33.3% unemployment statistics that was brought in by National Bureau of Statistics. But we really know that those figures, how were they able to get those figures? A very good job by the National Bureau of Statistics. But as we speak today, we do know there are some individuals have the certificate, but they cannot find jobs. And that is why when you see the president talking about judging him by factories, you might be tempted to ask which of the factories he should have maybe called names so that we should be able to look at fact check, most especially. Is it the factory, the one from Ajokuta Steel? We have the Delta Steel in Alaja, which I've traveled there before, and I saw how that particular factory has been grounded for a long period of time. When you are talking about factory has a connotation of industrialization. Then you might be tempted to ask how many factories have been powered by the national grid. Of course, even this year we have seen how many times the national grid has collapsed. So that is why when you look at it side by side, according to my colleague here, I know the job seems to be available, but for me it is just an infinitesimal maybe percentage of people who are really saving money to get their factories being run, even some of the big eateries here in Abuja. So these are the issues. When we sit down to look at the whole issue, we can really say yes, the president obviously is trying because of the rot in the society. So trying to bring some form of oxygen in the system will take a lot of time. But for me, if we really try to grow Nigeria to say we are fully industrialized, I think we should not depend on the national grid because it has never helped us for a long period of time.
But do you see Nigeria before 2027 is around the corner? And some of the things this administration may be using for their campaign could be part of what we're talking about now. But as it is right now, putting one or two together, can we say we are still where we are as far as the economy of the nation is concerned when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into office? Have they, because he is now saying, well, all you need to do is not about policy count, but then look at my antecedents. What have I done? Jobs, you talk about jobs, talk about factory. So what do you think, all right, from where we started and where we are, the subsidy removal, everything, down to 2026, where we are right here on February?
Well, the three famous things that I can really say that even some individuals may able to get most frequently is the CNG, the policy of the CNG. That one is number one. And the other one is the student loan. But I really don't know whether your neighbor or your cousin has been able to access the loan. And after some time, say you are graduating in 2 years' time, and then you begin to pay back. Then the other one is the credit card. But I don't know how realistic we will be able to say those informations has really trickled down to the society. But if the likes of the villa will want to disconnect themselves from March, relying on solar to power the villa, then we begin to paint another narrative that it looks as if those individuals or those of us who are relying on the estimated billings might not be able to get electricity to power their small businesses like the saloons, like the bakeries. So these are the things that when you look at, basically we might be able to ask ourselves one basic question is that, can the president power all the communities that he has been traveling to campaign before he won the election? These are the issue. When people come in, a river or a stream is separating two communities that you have to use canoe to cross over to the other side. Can there be a bridge that when people produce or harvest their crops, they should be able to cross over either the pedestrian bridge to come to the other side to come and sell? This is what drives commercial activities. And once commercial activities are being, they have the rate of turnover is increasing, then you really know that you are creating either a seasonal job or a direct job. But for me, I really think that the APC administration should do more. Why is it that our refineries have not been working? Our previous managing directors of refineries, from Andrew Yakubu, from Funshoku Pulukun of this world, why hasn't the refinery worked? Just give us, okay, assuming the CNG cars are becoming more many, are increasing, for example, what now happened to the PMS consumption cars? Are you saying like the likes of Dangote will not have the market to sell petroleum products? These are the issues. If it's going to be 60-40%, we should look at the whole issues and really say that yes, the APC or the president has done well. But I know basically the rots in the society, it will take the tenacity of the president to really look at those issues so that these things can be solved, so that Nigeria can come back to a full industrialized nation.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Olamileko. Can we now go to the National Assembly and talk about the e-transmission of election result in real time that has, of course, spread to different dimensions. First of all, it was passed with condition, which Nigerians were not comfortable with, and protests continued. As at yesterday, we heard that there was a tear gassing or something. But now, let's look at this. The rowdy session at the House of Rep. All right, the electoral amendment bill, Senate in division. There is division in the Senate. Then we all saw the video making rounds about the rowdy session all right, at the House of Reps. So what does all of this communicate to Nigerians as far as 2027 is concerned?
For me, I don't think there will be any issue in the 2027 election. As a journalist and someone who need to put out information in a perspective that you balance issues. You know, the whole essence of having democracy is to see that both opposition and ruling party speak. And that's why we normally say majority will have their way, but minority will always have their say. Now, in essence of this electronic transmission of results, it's an open discussion that brought a lot of negative narrative around what it really entails. But for someone who have been following election, even though I'm an economist, I do economic issues on newspaper, on TV. I also use that to judge the temperament of the political arena of Nigeria. And following election process in Nigeria, it wasn't until 2010 we began to introduce technology into our electoral system. That's when the biometric came into being. And by 2019, we advanced more by using card reader. And by 2023, we come with IRF and Beavers and the rest of them, and become a stake in our election processes, and they all have the advantages and disadvantages. But here we are in 2027, we are now saying, okay, let us have a mandatory electronic transmission of results. And it was a good idea that nobody can throw it out. But in should we have issues with technicality, technology, what should be our fallback? And that's when they ask, okay, let us have the manual also serving as the next point of call. If you snap and transmit through the Beaver to the INEC IRF, what is also available is that the original paper that you have transmitted or snap will also be available and serve as a point of reference as election result. And it was a case of no, it should be mandatory that it is only with interpretation, with only the one transmitted that will now serve as a real authentic result. So what happened to the manual when the election was conducted manual? So for me as a journalist, is just for us to have the balance, the positive side and negative side. And so as you put out your question, what will now happen to 2027 election? I don't see anything negative happening to 2027 election. I've been conducting election for the past 25 years. The only issue is that each election year, there is new development, there is new tactics. And one thing most of us need to also understand is that the politicians that we are dealing with, they always have a strategy that we should all understand that when they come with those strategies, we should come with finest understanding of it, so that when they come with those strategies, we can also make that strategy to be counterproductive. And that's why when they said, let us have both manual and electronic transmission available, and some people are saying, no, it should just be only manual transmission. What that means is that if election is not transmitted electronically, you cancel that particular election in that particular polling unit. And that, for me as a person, as a journalist, I don't think that's wise enough.
All right. Let me get you now, Ben. I'm aware, there have been protests to that effect after the refusal, of allowing electronic transmission of result real time before it was later passed with condition of maybe using the handwritten, as maybe an alternative. Peter Obi, he says something about opposition and all of that. Now, Peter Obi, on his own part, is condemning the tear gassing of the people protesting. I saw someone speaking in the morning program today, in one of sister stations. And I was talking about the fact that they were tear gassed. Now, Obi is condemning it and insisting on e-transmission. Looking at what he said and looking at Obi insisting on the tear gassing of the people. As a Nigerian, what do you have to say?
Well, when you look at the issue of people trying to exercise their rights, maybe either directly or indirectly, a protest, for example, has to be something that everybody is a right of people. If you are really not satisfied with some policy issues, you at least the National Assembly has been accommodating a lot of protesters. Women have gone there to protest. Retired police officers have gone there to protest. Students have also been there. But you know, in Nigeria, because when you look at the issue of Independent National Electoral Commission, I'm sure the likes of Professor Morris, who was the then INEC chairman during the President Obasanjo era, will be smiling and happy, because it was that period that you have to write result. That period that everything was almost manual. But subsequently, when you look at what is happening there, why won't we just test? Even Independent National Electoral Commission has said they have done a mock election, and they have truly certified that this particular equipment will be able to give the people election result that will be acceptable. But you know, the politician seems to be very, very smart, because ideally there are some people, from what somebody told me, who wouldn't have merited that particular position, but because of the loophole that is involved in the election cycle, people just want to manipulate the system. And that is why we said, why won't you, okay, the CBT that the JAM is using, is that not what they are using to get admissions in the higher institution? So why is it that when you thumbprint, it's difficult for me, your thumbprint, I cannot fake my thumbprint, you cannot just inherit my thumbprint? So why won't you just try the whole issues and see how objective this will help the system? It is because of the politicians have looked at, that's why when you look at what happened in the National Assembly and the name calling, the shouting and the likes, you just know that some individual who should test and see if this electronic transmission of result were able to give people what, at least they have used it for about 2-3 states, and the result was okay and acceptable. But I really think that if the masses, or not just the masses, the elite, feel that this is what they want, the National Assembly have noticed it. I think they have returned from their recess in respect of making sure this thing is resolved. But for me, I think we want a better Nigeria, Lord, that will be able to give us hope, relief, peace, and advancement. If that doesn't happen, then I tell you the truth, there will be no need using IREF or BVAT. Let's go back and continue to use manual till eternity, because it looks as if the National Assembly members really don't like the sophistication that has been imputed in the election cycle, election system. And that is why I really think that we have to look at the future and not where we are presently.
Now, adding to what Ben has said, I think electronic transmission of results has been on in Nigeria. It happened in 2023, and it happened in Anambra election. But the terminology that some of the CSOs and politicians are using, calling for mandatory read time, and we have asked questions, journalists have asked questions, what do you mean by read time? Is the read time different from what happened in Anambra election, that all the uploaded results at the end of the day, by 8 p.m. in the night, all the results were there? So is that read time different from the read time that you are talking about? Because in a more defining intellectual understanding of what they are calling read time, it means we are going for electronic voting. And right now, there's no room for electronic voting, because it's only electronic voting that I can give you read time. And what Ben is saying, talking about thumbprinting only comes on your ballot paper. After everything has been collated, presiding officer have signed, party agent have countersigned, they snap the entire from ECO8 and upload it on the IRF of INEC. And that is what the electronic transmission is all about. But what they are now saying is that in case it failed, can we have the same paper that was snapped, transmitted as a backup? And it was like, no, we shouldn't have that as a backup. It should just be the one only on electronic transmission. And that's why, and for those people who are calling for that, what they don't know is that they have created a loophole for the politicians to take advantage. Because what will happen is that it will be cancellation of any result at any polling unit that refuse to upload. And ask me, who will be the benefit of such? Is it the CSO members that are outside, or the politicians that are conducting the election? And that's where the question lies.
But you know, as it is right now, first of all, it started from the Senate, then got to House of Rep, and House of Rep said no. But as it is, as at today, it's in the paper that e-transmission of result reps, all right, made a U-turn and okay manual e-transmission of electronic result. Then PDP on their own part is coming to say, well, that decision by the House of Rep agreeing towards the Senate, because as at yesterday we saw a video where they were shouting the ruling party and all of that, calling names and all of that. Then there is a U-turn, and PDP is saying this is a betrayal of public trust. Do you look at it as a betrayal?
I don't. You know, I will still go back to from a profession as a journalist. You look at both sides. What are the advantage? What are the disadvantage? Should we just rely? I've said something clear on this issue. I said, when we say we rely on only mandatory transmission of result, and when it fails, what happened to the result of that election? That means it will be cancelled. And one of the problems we have with when we are asking questions around this, when we ask some of the CSO people leading, and we said, okay, if we are not accepting, if real transmission of result is the core value of every election, and it fails, and that particular result does not go, what happened to that result? And if by election is asked or conducted, and it's still the same thing refused to go, what will happen to that election result? Nobody is giving us any answer. The same thing goes to the real-time question that have been asked. Nobody is talking, and that's why I quickly make reference to the Anambra election. Is that the real-time we are talking about, or is there any other real-time? Now, based on what PDP is a political party. All of them is fighting for their interests. But the major interest that majority of Nigerians will look for is an election that will not create a confusion. Even though I've said earlier on the issue that we won't have any issue come 2027 election because it will go smoothly well. But politicians have a way of taking advantage of loopholes, and that's why PDP is coming about to say, okay, wiping off public sentiment, trying to arouse emotion through their statement and saying it's a betrayal of public. So what betrayal are we talking about? That we should not have alternative to a process in case it fails. Is that what we are saying? That we should just rely on one channel? That when that one channel fails, we'll come back to that same channel, we'll continue, and then we'll waste resources. Meanwhile, the real process of the election is basically manual. So just on the surface of it all, let us take a look at the advantage and the disadvantage. And that's why the manual, in consonance with electronic transmission, has become something on the table. That is, we have electronic transmission of result, we also have the manual result on the table, so that in case there is issue, we rely on that. And when you come to looking at the both result, you also use the manual to check your correspondence and check out this. If election is transmitted, if election result is transmitted on the portal, what are you going to use to check the one that is on the portal? Is it with your empty palm? Is it not the one that is written on paper? Is it not the copy that all the polling agent and the party agent collected they will use? And that's where the question lies for everyone.
But also, even Olamilekan, there are some individuals also that if I send somebody a text message, is he not receiving the text message? So that seems to be like a real time. And how many text messages have failed, for example? And we know the issue of the paper, you know, the mutilation. Sometimes we are journalists, we have gone for an event, we are party agent, do not even have money to drink bottled water. And you see another political party, they are eating a lot of chicken and shawarma. What do you expect in that kind of environment? You easily, you as a party agent, you will compromise. You will. Let's tell ourselves the truth.
The truth is already there. My concern is that don't take side with the politicians and the people who are agitating for it. Look at the issue on its merit of its benefit.
Okay, for you now, assuming now you want to look at real time and the paper, so you would prefer 90% of relying on the paper rather than...
What is the real time, Ben? Are you doing electronic voting? If I'm sending text to you and I'm talking to you, which one is real time? Or I'm writing letter to you and I'm sending text to you, which one is real time?
Well, writing of letter cannot be real time.
And sending text message is real time. But I'm not doing electronic election that you are asking for real time. Meanwhile, the real time we have based on what we have presently is what we experience in an Anambra election. Is there any other real time that can be explained beyond that?
But Ben, let me ask now, because the essence of all of this is for us to have a free and fair election.
Yes.
To avoid, should I use the word excessive rigging? Because I don't know if because some people will argue it that there's no election in this world that you won't sense any act of rigging or something. As it is right now, with the e-transmission, Okay, like PDP is saying, where the trust of the people have been betrayed by the House of Rep because they are really representing the people at the constituencies. Can we say with the e-transmission of electronic results, election results in real time, what impact would it have as far as the rigging of election is concerned?
Well, it is going to eliminate rigging, no doubt. But you know, one basic aspect about how to choose, political parties have a way of trying to score through the process. For example, INEC will be telling political parties submit names of candidates before the election. You will see how political parties will be maneuvering. At the end, you just find out that this person is not qualified, this person has not been, don't have money to bring delegate who will vote for him. And also, political parties really understand that when you are looking at the credibility of the elections, if a technology will have a higher percentage, he or she might be disqualified. And that is why we are so used to this this paper process, where you have to write, you have to sign, move from one office to another, the bureaucracy of signing signature. It has translated to the larger society. What is wrong for you to just go and cast your vote and join the train like other clamps in the wall and go to work and still earn your living? Why must we need to block the whole road because election or off-season election is going on? These are the things we should look, because the wastage of man hours can be used to get another things done. And that is why, as a Nigerian, you must be able to you should be thinking from the other side of the box in such a way that, okay, after I finish my voting, this is who I vote for. When a result is announced, then you really know that you can still go and do your business. During election day, 48 hours, you voted, you are still stayed glued until your television set all through the night for you to know who will be announced. I think that process is too tedious for me. And let's make sure that we should be able to add a larger percentage with electronic transmission. It will help. I'm not saying we should not use manual, but since years, when 1960 election processes, I think we should try and introduce more innovative ways so that we can get things done.
Like some people said, well, we are going backwards.
That is what I'm saying. That's what
some people said even this e-transmission was passed since 2022. That was what some people said. But all the same, let's leave the issue of e-transmission and get to EFCC and El Rufai's case right now. Some people were saying, well, the way this thing is going, there might be a court order or something. As a matter of fact, EFCC to secure remand order to detain El Rufai until the investigation is concluded. Were you expecting this whole situation to get to that level?
I was expecting it to happen, and it can happen to any political elite, any economic elite.
So our politicians should be careful.
Yes, that's the lesson they should be learning from LFI. You know, power is transcendent.
If it's in APC, do you think this would have happened?
It will still happen. Some APC members are in court as we speak right now. The issue is not about you being APC. The issue is about what is the institutional framework of punishing offenders in Nigeria. And that's why we should stand with EFCC. The petition against LFI is coming from Kaduna State that over 432 billion cannot be accounted for under him. And many people who serve in commissioner, permanent secretary, essays who have been detained by EFCC, sent to court and the rest of it. And there is a principal man behind that. So why would they question him?
But do you know when he left office?
He left office in 2023. And since then, there have been issues that he should account for, from the State House of Assembly to the government of Kaduna State. Well, he was nowhere to be found. He was either in Egypt or in Saudi Arabia or somewhere else. And the people who serve under him, commissioner, were arrested, were called to court to answer for what they did. And he is the principal person behind the non-accountable of over 400 billion naira. So he should be all responsible. So if EFCC is doing any, one thing about me as a journalist, as a person, is that if you see the elite being called to questions, please Just allow the same system they have corrupted, the same system they have dealt with, the same system they have bastardized, allow that same system to interrogate their life for whatever reason. So for El-Rufai, it is now his own time to follow the process and the system to interrogate him. So let's allow EFCC to deal with him accordingly. And that's just it.
$400 billion.
Unaccountable for.
Unaccountable for.
So you should account for that.
Unaccounted for.
Exactly.
But now, let's call a spade now. You know, he was supposed to be a minister, you know, and he was screened for some reasons, some maybe security reasons and all of that. And after now, we're hearing, well, the disappearance of one person or a social media person, tapping into the NSA's phone line, you know, and all of that. Ben, as it is right now, El-Rufai left the seat for about 2 years plus, if I'm not mistaken, if not more. And this is coming up now. Some Nigerians are saying, but when he was in APC and was doing everything for APC, we never heard about this, that he left office for a very long time. Why all of this? Even if he's abroad, if he's anywhere, he can be recalled back home, all right, if there is a case against him. But now, the way it is, what are you thinking? Do we have any political undertone here, or the law is simply taking its course? He's in ADC, remember?
Yes, he's in ADC, but sometimes when you look at the antecedent of Nasir El-Rufai, sometimes you might likely want to ask yourself whether he is like he knows every secret of presidential candidate. Don't forget during that time, because what actually made me to try to study him and look at him, how he started, why he was a governor. You remember he took one of his sons to one of those public schools, and a very senior journalist told me that he went and withdrew this just to show that his child is going to public school. But at the end of the day, we saw how he was able to promote President Bola Tinubu. We saw how he tried to bring a narrative of the Muslim ticket. We saw how he was having meeting and consultation. Even if you remember, he traveled, we went outside, and during that time when President Tinubu, whether he won the election or he didn't win, also when they travel outside at the Buga dance, where they dance with him, everybody for him, it looks as if APC was doing well. But one basic thing I found out when he granted an interview on another channel, another television station, and he was asked what happened, and one basic thing he said was that it wasn't, especially when he was not screened, he didn't pass through the screening, that it wasn't the National Assembly that didn't screen, approve him. It was, in fact, they called the president name. So that begin to tell you either some,
I remember after the screening, he still had a meeting with the president.
He still had the president, a meeting with the president, and at the end, not even at the Aso Rock, it was Baba Kande's birthday. He met with the president, and when he was asked that what happened, the president was telling him that we will work together. We will work together. Nasir will work together. But you know one thing about politicians: if you are this individual like a politician, you wouldn't want to come and build reputation the way APC is. I think you might be shown the exit door, because during the period of President Muhammadu Buhari, you will find out that some of the blogs that were able to get, maybe I would say, appointment was the CPC blog, the likes of Abubakar Malami, the likes of Nasir El-Rufai. And don't forget, even there was another name. I saw that lady when she protested at the EFCC office. You remember Loretta on her chair? She was there. So she is part of those CPC blogs. So you now understand that, like, President Bola Tinubu is a very smart, intelligent politician, reserving the APC national chairman from the ACM. That is why when Pa Kande got that particular interim chairman, the likes of Pa Odigi Oyegun, the likes of Adam Soshomole. But basically, Nasir El-Rufai should understand that Nigeria is big. It is not everything which he says that people will just believe and take. They need to take that word, chew them, and those words will pass through the crucible. Then you begin to edit the process to really know whether this man is really qualified to be called an elder. But for me, if he has anything in his cupboard, but brother, he should face the music.
All right, he should face the music if he has anything in the cupboard. But the issue of one thing was not very clear to Nigerians, and that's the issue of tapping into the NSA's phone. And well, doesn't that put Nigeria on a security threat? If really it's true. Don't you think so? Looking at the security situation
every
in
one
the
of
country.
us on the security threat, but the key point is that now that he has exposed himself, you need to expose the person who did that particular tapping.
Because he said someone told him.
Somebody told.
So you should also expose that to the government, and that will also save him all the bright and whatever that is coming across. But for me as a journalist, what we need to understand in this case is that when the elite are on fire against themselves or quarreling with themselves, they're fighting themselves, we should just allow them to have their space and allow the institution to punish them. So whatever if I have done at this point in time, allow the system to allow him to pass through the system and allow the system to also pass through him. That's my own concern, because tomorrow it could be another turn of another elite, because he didn't get opportunity to be in government. He will now come out and begin to rise up issues just to castigate the government because he was not part of them. People should not take side on that regard, because I don't know, the same guys who overnight they'll go and join themselves and they'll become elite again, and they begin to punish us with all manner of policy that is not consistent with our development. So at this point in time, it is the time for everybody to pass through the fire of institutional system processes, and that's why EFCC is holding on him. NSA will hold on him, DSS will hold on him, SSA will hold on him. Let them all hold on him so that he can now be refined. By the time he come out of their processes, he may be a better citizen at the end of the day.
But are you sure? Do you know that some persons don't believe in the system? Some people protested in Kaduna for arresting El-Rufai.
Because people
for
don't
calling
believe,
him to
people
question
don't
the
believe the system
attempted
is
El-Rufai.
always there. We, even both of us here as a journalist, we will not always believe in the system, particularly when the system is doing things contrary to the safeguard law of the land. But when the system is doing things according to the law of the land, because as president, it's about the law of the land that EFCC is following to prosecute or to investigate El-Rufai. That is for it. But when they are doing something against the law, against the people, that's when we can ask, okay, the system we can't trust. But on this particular issue, we should trust the system for them to truly go through El-Rufai and get him refined as a good citizen. That's how I see it.
All right. I think in Rivers State, it's as if Fubara is taking his place gradually, but some persons will still tell you, well, Ben, as it is that Fubara is not too legfully in Rivers State, even though he's the governor. That's what some people, some school of thought are saying. But as it is, we were made to understand that there is peace now between him and the FCT minister, and the FCT minister said so. But the thing now is that Fubara are ready with 20 commissioner nominees. Can we say with that, peace has returned, that he now has the backing of the cabinet? And with these 20 commissioners, he's going to have more people on his side, and that could lead to the smooth running of Rivers State.
Well, I don't want to categorically believe that particular statement from you, because when you look at the peace issue prior to what we have now, the president intervened and there have been several meetings behind the back door and peace never came. Yes, because if you are really saying that there is no meeting at the back end, that means we as journalists might not be able to tell our viewers the truth. And subsequently, even the list you said that he has penciled down, the list can be termed as a list that, Oga, I've sent the list to my principal via WhatsApp, please confirm and return it back to me. Because if you are saying Sim Fubara should present those lists, I'm sure his godfather will be able to have input on that list. That particular one, I am very, very certain, because somehow they try to make some recommendations on who will be a commissioner, on who is not going to be a commissioner. But let's hope that the peace will return. But the issue of in Rivers State, who is still the 001, I don't know whether they have really resolved that one anyway, because if Wike is coming to Rivers State, you know that everything will stand still. You will see a lot of activity.
So invariably, you are trying to say Wike is the 001 of Rivers State.
No,
invariably.
Well, except
if everything is standing still for him, then meaning even Fubara will need to stand still.
Anyway, Fubara, some people might. It depends the quality of people who are standing still anyway, because people will still stand still for Fubara, no doubt. Even as journalists, we can still stand still.
Why are you mentioning journalists?
Let me quickly add, because I know time is not on us.
Yeah, time is running very fast.
It is time for Fubara to work. That is a simple fact, and that's why they're having 20 commissioners. Whether it is Wike men that are coming or Fubara men that are coming, all that Rivers State people need at this point in time is governance, and that's what Fubara need to do at this point in time.
So what you mean for him not to have done that all the while? You mean he is at fault? Is that what you're trying to say?
He was called
because as a governor,
he was called to come and hit, to come and chop in our local parlance as we normally see in politics.
How do you mean he was called to come?
He was called to come and
he contested and won an election. You are saying he was called.
Do you want us to go back to the history of how he became governor? He was an accountant general or the auditor general of the state. He was nominated as against all odds against Wike. And here we are. Instead of him to stand still with his principle, it was against him. For me, that time has passed. It is now time for him to work. The 20 commissioner, they will be approved by the State House of Assembly, and that is the final. And
so invariably what we are saying is Fubara just wasted River people's time.
You are just saying that, but for me, it is time for him. For me, it is time for him to work. Whether he wasted anybody's time, it is now time for him.
So he has not been working.
When you are saying it is time for him to work, assuming those commissioners did not merit that position, what will now happen? Assuming
if they don't merit it, they won't pick them.
Or what if an Oga somewhere said these 20 commissioners that you have penned down? No. How would he have worked when there is problem?
That will not be, but the bottom line is this: governance is needed in Rivers State, and all hands must be on deck. The 220 commissioners have been nominated. That let the State House of Assembly work on them, screen them, pass them, and let them pick their position. That is my stand, and let's go with that.
All right, let them pick their position and let what needs to be done be done. Of course, it is well, this is Journalist Roundtable. I wanted to say Global Roundtable, but don't worry, very soon I will really get there. But then, as it is right now, let's go to Ondo State. APC chair beaten in Coas during meeting. Are we now trying to say there is problem in APC like Labour Party, PDP, which other party? Name them. You people, you know them. The parties that are in disarray with so many Coas.
ADC, are they not in disarray or the
ADC? Is ADC also in disarray?
No, I'm just asking if they are in this.
So why should you ask? Of all parties, you're asking of ADC.
I'm just asking.
So with what happened in Ondo State now, are you now trying to say there is problem in APC too? Because a lot of people say, well, one of the party that is safe from all this fight and division and problem is APC. But now in Ondo State, we saw what happened. Chairman was beaten up.
It is one thing about when you look at political parties, especially how some of these individuals marry those positions. You know, people must have contested that position, for example. But you know how these things, once there is political event, there are rally, you must still see this element of thuggery in the system. So that is why I am also of the view, if things like this continue to happen, how will the man sell the brand of the APC in that Ondo State? So these are the issues. But this is not the first time it has happened. This is not even the second time. But basically, I think since it wasn't a clash of political party A and APC, we can as well where they clash, for example, clashing in campaign venue or campaign ground. But what I really think we should need to promote a lot of advocacy that why is it that when players in clubs play football and they lose games, they still hug each other and exchange jerseys? But the political system, it looks as if some individuals are thoroughbred politicians. That is their occupation. They don't have any other means of livelihood, and that is why they felt that when you lose that means where you are getting your daily bread from, either any of the political party, it looks as if you are grounded. I just wish him well, and I just hope he should be very
all right, let's get back to the presidency. Well, you are an economist now. It is Tinubu unveils Nigeria industrial policy and he's demanding speed implementation. One of the problems we have in this country is implementation. Apart from saying it on paper, what do you expect the president to do for speed implementation, like he has said?
You all in is monitoring. Let him monitor the people that are in charge.
Is there monitoring in Nigeria?
There is
monitoring and evaluation in the real sense of it.
The only issue we have is that they don't monitor all those projects to the fullness. And there is this problem of familiarity of people that you put in position of authority. That's why many of them don't work as expected. But I hope that this new national industrial policy will work effectively via monitoring. That's the only way we can safeguard our industrial policy, and that is the best way. So it's simple about monetary evaluation. Let's have it on board, and that will really help us to be able to put our policy in the right track.
This could be part of the reason why I said, don't check me by my policy count, just look at the job and all of that. Let's go to Dangote Refinery a little bit before I come back to Ben. Dangote Refinery, okay, Dangote signs $400 million equipment deal to fast-track refinery expansion. What does that mean?
It's very interesting because Dangote has promised us almost 15 million liters of petrol from January.
And you feel that is achievable?
It's achievable because his refinery is up to speed with over 250,000 barrels of crude they're cracking a day. So it's up to speed. It's ready for that. So he's signing up this particular deal is a good way to go. I just hope that at the end of the day, the market is there for him, but there won't be any sabotage within his system, because what we see in Nigerian business circles is that once a business is progressing, you're able to plan against sabotage within that system. And I just hope that will not be his problem going forward, because most of those sabotages come from government policy somersault. Because if any policy of government kick against what he's doing right now, it threw him back to the back door. But we just hope that will not happen. So it's a good way to go for Dangote. We all applaud and celebrate him on this new deal. But going forward, let us also patronize his product. That's a good way to ensure that Naira remains stable in Nigeria.
Ben, let me come back to you. What's your assessment of Dangote Refinery? Some people say, well, this thing you people are clapping for now, very soon it will turn to another thing. Remember the monopoly, cement, this one comparison, Boa, Dangote cement, and all of that. Dangote Refinery, well, this is massive. But what do you think? Because the ripple effect is what we're talking about. The effect on Nigerians, the average Nigerian on the street, that's what we're talking about.
Well, you know, sometimes about Dangote, when he makes achievement, and sometimes people try to maybe fight him, at the end of the day he will just release one word, then people will be shivering. For example, you saw what happened between him and the other man that said his kids were being schooled and being paid higher amount of school fees, and at the end of the day you saw the other time when even Dangote trying to open retail outlet, trying to take petroleum product. Some is it whether is this organization Bengasin were against it. So, and even Dangote at the time he said at the time where he wanted to buy Nigerian refinery last year or so, he said, looking at Nigerian refinery, it is not going to work. So you understand that the back and forth of some of these economics interviews, sometimes it comes like a thorn in the flesh of some individuals. But basically, he has done well. And I will really say I am very grateful for such a brand, right? For a single individual to stand and say, I will want to build this refinery. So I think it is good, and even in our homes there is no product of Dangote that is not in our home, whether it is the salt or sugar or maybe spaghetti, even the petroleum products too. I think it is a good one, but my major concern is the policy that will always drive him. Nigeria should learn, the NNPCL should learn from this particular giant strike. So that
is there an NPCL that should be learning, or Nigeria's federal government that couldn't put up one refinery where we'll have like 3 or 4 moribund refineries?
Well, the status of our refinery, some say it's moribund, you said, but I know some say it's even HIV positive. So whatever status they want to describe it, if they are not ready to wake up to make it to be competitive like that of Dangote, we'll continue to address it maybe like a scrap.
Well, I wish we could have time. I wanted to address the issue of meaning saying it's moribund is more friendly than this situation. Well, we don't have all the time. I wish we could have all the time. It's an interesting outing right here on Journalist Roundtable. You know, when journalists get around the table, you know what it means. Well, many thanks for coming on the program, Ben Essen. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Olamileko Adefolarin, for joining us. We hope can we have a repeat of this session? You know, can we have a repeat of this? Yes, I think we'll have you guys again so that we can talk more on other very biting headlines. Everyone, it's so good to have you with us on Journalist Roundtable right here. This is the much we would be able to take for now. We will come on your way again with more analysis and review of major headlines. My name is Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Have a beautiful time.